Let's start with the toxic way. And this is, I just don't recommend this because you might revive an evil spirit in that person. Is letting them is indirectly letting them know that you have an ex, obviously, and that you loved the ex, and that you never loved anyone else as much before. People are gonna take that as a challenge, especially if you never tell them you love them. They're gonna say, "Why don't you?" One of the thoughts that are gonna dominate their minds is, "Why don't you love me? You love them. Why can't you love me?" Right? That's one thing. Like letting them know that you love someone and then not saying "I love you" to them. That does hurt people. It does. The next one is literally dating somebody that looks the complete opposite of your ex. That's one thing. If you date Tyrone the personal trainer, date Bob the programmer, and vice versa. You know, and if the person knows that your ex looks the complete opposite of you, it definitely creates inner competition. And God forbid if you tell him he had a big dick, or you tell her that she had some big old titties and the girl has a small chest, like that will get toxic. That's gonna get toxic. That's not what I'm talking about. Okay. We want to go with things that are not that sexually explicit. All right. Other things that you could do to create this triangulation is if you dated a rich guy, now you're dating a normal guy, letting them know the status of your ex. You know, if you dated a super famous girl and you're dating a normal girl, letting them know the status of your ex. I mean, I know it sounds simple, but the triangulation does do that. And the most toxic one is staying friends with your ex. People don't. I hate when people do that. Like, and for some reason, people who stay friends with their ex, as long as they don't have children, if they have children, you could. But if they don't have children, why the hell are you guys being buddy buddy? I don't give a fuck if this is a mature relationship. Anyways, triangulation does that. Other ways that you could triangulate is by literally having friends of the opposite sex. Just the presence of the opposite sex. Literally, just like you could have me as your friend and just be there and just breathe and not move, and I'll be a threat to your ex. Like it's just that simple. Just the presence of the opposite sex does that. But as long as you're not obvious about it. For example, the last girl that I was dating did that shit, and honestly it worked on me for like a week or two until I saw the bullshit where she said her ex wanted to move in. He was broke. He was poor. And he needs a place for a week. And she felt bad because he was begging. And they've known each other for years. And me and that girl weren't in a relationship, but we were talking. But I didn't have the right to tell her what to do. You know what I'm saying? Because we were just talking. But I was like, look, man, whatever. Long story short, she said the ex would take her phone and block me. And he wouldn't let her unblock me. And so I thought that she couldn't control it. But then I realized that he was going to be there for a week, but then it started extending to 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And I would tell her, why don't you kick him out? And she's like, oh, because he just doesn't leave. And then the only way he left was because she was actually going to Colombia and he had no other choice because she had to leave. And I'm like, if you would have not have left to Colombia, he still would have been there. She's like, maybe. And I'm like, okay, this bitch is crazy. And then she was like, well, I'm trying to heal. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm done with this. And I walked away. I was like, you're bullshitting me. But I could promise you, the competition between me and him, psychologically, it definitely made me compete more for her. Right? But thank God I've grown as a person. And I didn't take that personal, and I didn't take that as a challenge. But the truth is that people's self-esteem is lower than you think, and they do fall for these tricks. Like, people's self-esteem is not as high as you think people. The next one is they represent a personal or cultural archetype, right? They look like Prince, for example. And all of a sudden, because you look like Prince and I like Prince, their emotions get more engaged. Maybe you look like my dad or behave like my dad. Or you behave like my mom and look like my mom. Or maybe you look like the ex that dumped me. And now this is my other chance to redeem myself. And this actually happened to me. Right? I was dating this girl. Long story short, she dumped me. and I was really in love with her. And then I dated another girl, and she didn't look like her. But then one day she came over, and I was drunk, and she just let me lay on her lap, and I looked up, and from that angle, she looked like her. I was like, holy fuck, that's fucking Gaia. That was her name. Gaia is a beautiful name, though. I'm like, that's fucking Gaia. And then all of a sudden, I fell in love with her. I stopped loving Gaia. I fell in love with her. And it wasn't because of her. It was because of their projection. She represented somebody in my past, right? And you kind of end up going back with them. You're staying with them because they look like the ex, or they remind you of the ex. And so you could just not heal and just project those emotions onto them. You know? Those relationships never work out, by the way. But, or maybe you represent, maybe you represent the bad boy look in America, for example. Or maybe you look like a Korean pop star singer, like the look, the androgynous look, and then all of a sudden, any girl that likes those, that fall in love with one of those singers, they meet you, and all of a sudden, they fall in love with you, right? The projections, personal projections, dad, how his or her dad was, and then cultural projection. Oh my God, you look like Prince. Let me go out with you. Or oh my God, you look like Lenny Kravitz. With me, I noticed that women who are into black guys, or women who like Lenny Kravitz, or women who like spiritual guys, or women who kind of like Prince. I don't know why that one. Or women who like XXXTentacion, or they usually go for me because I just look like them. So you engage their emotions by affecting a projection. The next one is conflict and resolution. This is pretty much what makeup sex is, right? People tend to fall in love during situations of conflict, right? So it could be that maybe you guys got into a fight and made up. Or maybe you guys got mad at each other because maybe one person was late on the date, and you got really mad at the person, and then they really apologize, and then they say, you know what? I know we're fighting right now, but how about this? Let's start over again. Let's try this again. Let me make it up to you, and you guys meet. But because you guys fought, but because you guys had some conflict, all of a sudden you meet again, and it feels like you know them, even though it's the first date. There's something about conflict that brings people together. The United States, the moments when it's most people are proud to be Americans the most is during conflict. Countries at war become more united. Countries at peace get a little bit more divided. Conflict and pain, and even those toxic relationships, the reason why they're so addictive is because conflict creates an emotional and physical addiction to the other person. If you're able to get me mad, that means I really like you. If you're able to make me feel negative emotions, it means you're also able to make me feel positive emotions, like any other drug. Conflict does that. So that's why it's okay. That's why I encourage you guys to be confrontational when somebody's being disrespectful, even if it's your lover. Because confronting people who, especially your ex, the people who you're dating who are being disrespectful, what that does is that it actually makes them, you actually create the type of conflict that when you tell them the issue and they try to work it out, the reconciliation brings you guys closer together. And the last one, it's sympathy. Sympathy and empathy. This one is pretty big. You could be dating someone and they look good. You like the way they are, but for some reason you just don't feel that chemistry. How do you do that? Well, I got something for you. Sympathy. When you find somebody attractive and then you mix the feeling of sympathy, a lot of the times it feels like you're in love. That desire to help someone who you feel like is in need and feels like they're helpless creates warm, fuzzy feelings inside of you. It really does, man. And sometimes that makes people actually fall in love for that person. And that's why people play the victim. Because playing the victim works. Playing the victim elicits sympathy. And if this person finds you attractive, you guys have a lot in common, that could potentially, like sugar and spice and everything nice, that could be the spice or the sugar to this whole concoction to create the Powerpuff Girls. sympathy. Like I remember this one girl whose cat died. Man, I hate dating girls with pets, man. There's always that moment where you got to be the comforter. Anyways, her cat died, which I fucking hated. But you know, anyways, I liked it, but I didn't like her that much. No, I liked it, but not like that. You know what I'm saying? But she just cried on my lap. She just started crying. Like, she just felt so bad, and I'm a nice person, and I had never seen somebody cry so hard like that. And I was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, man." First of all, I didn't know what to say. I was like, okay, like I'm kind of happy that motherfucker's gone. He peed on me one time, but you know, she was crying, and I just felt bad. And she got out. She was like, "Thank you." And I remember the feeling. I just felt so bad for her that she went through that. Like I really felt bad for her, and I wanted her to be happy. I gave her a gift, took her out to dinner. She was smiling, and I was happy that she was smiling. Think about that. What the fuck do you think is going on in my brain? I'm falling in love with this person. That's what's going on. That's conflict for you. Women, there's something about a woman who looks sad and needs help that as a guy, I want to help. And it engages your emotions. And if you have the right circumstances, it could potentially make somebody fall in love. And that's how you engage their emotions. Honestly, there's just so many ways to engage people's emotions. I've been just having some crazy revelations. It sounds so cultish. I've had revelations, but I've just had so many things about human nature that just have been illuminated to me the past week that my mind has been kind of blown. I'm not even gonna lie, people. I'm not even gonna lie, even for me. And especially because I was reading a book, the book, The Art of Seduction, in my Robert Greene book club, and I was reading the chapter about confusing reality and fantasy, and it just blows your mind. It helps you, like, it shows you why some people tend to follow cults, tend to believe crazy shit in a way that makes sense, so that the next time you see somebody following a dumbass cult leader, you don't be like, why are you following them? You're gonna be like, okay, I get it. You know. So yeah, it's, you guys can join the Robert Greene book club by being a Robert Greene book club member by clicking on the description down below. There you can learn a lot of these strategies about how to engage in people's emotions. But generally speaking, this is something that should happen naturally in your relationships. You don't have to manufacture this. You could do these strategies to maintain a relationship. Don't do these strategies to make somebody love you. These strategies are better used once they love you. You could just sprinkle a little bit of it, and it has a really beautiful and powerful effect. When I describe things, it sounds evil, you know, because it's just that's my language. That's the way I describe things. But the truth is, this happens a lot in healthy relationships. So you don't have to be Satan to apply this in your life. All right, you could also be the Buddha. You could be Jesus. Heck, Jesus did that. Jesus had 12 disciples. You don't think they competed for him? You know what I'm saying? Like what? Like, he had 12 disciples. That does work. All right, if you guys enjoy these videos about stoicism, dating, relationships, self-help, moving up in life, I would recommend you guys check out some of my courses that I have for sale. These courses are courses for men and women. For example, Nice Girl, Nice Guy is a course about how to become more assertive. Natural Chemistry is a course for women that I have on how to develop strong relationships. Dark Game is a controversial course that I have for guys on how to attract women in their life and keep it. It's not as dark as it seems, but we do talk about some dark psychology in here. Psychological Game of Attraction is a course that we made for women who are single. And as you see, we have a course about how to develop charisma, Emotional Mastery, which is a course about how to develop a meditation practice and how to improve your emotional life, to become more resilient, to not let rejection hit you so hard, to be able to bounce back from failure. I have a course called Nice Guy, which is a course for guys who are single and guys who want to be able to develop more assertiveness training, right? Most of these courses come at $99. And there you can also purchase the bundle where you guys can purchase all of the courses in one go at a discounted rate, right? We have a bundle for women and a bundle for men. So click in the description down below to check them out. You can browse around and see the courses that you like. And if you don't like them, you guys can ask for a 30-day money back guarantee, and I'll give you guys the money back, okay? And in fact, we actually have a new one for women right now we're developing. It's called the Feminine Woman. So if you're a woman watching, this course is specifically to help women become more feminine, to embrace their feminine while embracing their masculine energy. And I'm actually going to make a course for that, like that for men, which is called the Masculine Man, which is a course on how to develop masculinity and develop masculine energy to attract women in your life, to attract business success in your life, to be able to be better socializing, to read people better. It's truly an all-around course. So if you guys want to check out those courses, click on the description down below where it says purchase the courses, and I'll see you guys inside. Bye-bye.